Global markets are in turmoil after U.S. President Donald Trump's blanket 10% tariffs on all imported goods. Markets and business leaders are assessing the impact of U.S. President's tariff war. The tariffs have hit China, the third largest trading partner of the U.S., most severely. Apart from 10% baseline tariffs, Trump has imposed 34% tariffs on imports from China that will take effect on April 9th. China retaliated with 34% tariff on U.S. goods from April 10th. Beijing has also lodged a complaint at the World Trade Organization against the U.S. tariff hike. The tariff tremors are also being felt in European Union, and the bloc is preparing a collective response. Top European indices have tanked as much as 5%. As Europe feels the heat of tariffs imposed by Trump, his trusted advisor Elon Musk said he hopes for a zero-tariff trade arrangement between Europe and North America.
For example, with the tariffs, that at the end of the day, I hope it is agreed that both Europe and the United States should move, ideally, in my view, to a zero-tariff situation, effectively creating a free trade zone between Europe and North America.
Fear and anxiety is high among car manufacturers, with 25% tariffs on car imports triggering mass layoffs and manufacturing pauses. Canadian car manufacturers Stellantis laid off 6,000 workers in Canada and 900 others in the US while pausing manufacturing plant in Mexico. Meanwhile, British car maker Jaguar Land Rover announced it will pause shipments of its luxury vehicles to the US. Smartphone manufacturer Apple has avoided raising prices of Apple products for now. The American tech giant shipped 5 plane loads of iPhones and other products from India to the US in late March to avoid the new tariffs. While some countries go for tit-for-tat tariffs, others are reducing the tariffs imposed on US goods. Zimbabwean president has announced he will suspend all tariffs on goods imported from the United States. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has chosen the path of negotiations. Netanyahu is said to be the first world leader to meet U.S. president after he announced the tariffs.
I depart to the United States to meet with President Trump to discuss, of course, matters on the hostages and completing the victory in Gaza, and, of course, on the tariffs imposed on Israel as well. I hope I can help with that, of course.
Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni also called for a pragmatic response to U.S. tariffs.
We did not agree with the choice of the United States, but we are ready to deploy all the instruments, negotiations and economic, needed to support our businesses and the sectors that will be penalized.
Meanwhile, India, Japan and Britain remain tight-lipped about how they would respond to tariffs imposed by Donald Trump. The U.S. has imposed 26% duties on Indian imports under the reciprocal tariff plan. The tariffs on competitors like China are 34%. Vietnam and Bangladesh are reeling under 46% and 37% respectively. Vietnam, that benefited from Trump's tariff on China during his first term, has sought 45 days relief from tariffs. Higher tariffs on competitors can also give Indian products an advantage against the American market. Many experts believe that China could benefit from U.S. tariffs that could provide an alternative market for Asian and European countries finding it hard to do business with the U.S.